Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John. We're still looking at John chapter 9, which is the account of Jesus' healing of a man who had been blind from birth. Now, in yesterday's session, we saw how simple the healing was. It was utter simplicity. Jesus just simply told the man, go to the pool of Siloam and wash. Remember, Jesus had anointed his eyes with sort of a mud paste he had made and said, go wash it off. And the man did. He went to the pool of Siloam, he washed, and he came back seeing. For the first time in his life, he saw. He had been healed of his blindness. Now, the rest of the chapter is going to deal with how the people responded to this amazing healing. No one had ever heard of such a thing, a man blind from birth being healed. Notice how the responses begin. Start at verse 8 of chapter 9. Now his neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, is this the same man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was, and others said, no, he only looks like him. But he himself insisted, I am the man. You see, when they realize he can see that he's been healed, there's this sense of disbelief. How could such a thing have occurred? So some say, well, it can't possibly be him, can it? I mean, a man blind from birth doesn't get his sight back. It can't possibly be him. Well, some said, oh, yes, it is. Others said, no, it's just someone who looks like him. But the man himself said, I'm the man. I'm the man. It is me. So then they asked, how were your eyes opened? How could such a thing have occurred? How were you healed? How were your eyes open, they asked. And he said, well, that man they called Jesus, he made some mud. He put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. I went, I washed, and now I can see. Well, where is this man, this Jesus, they asked. I don't know, he said. He simply told them what had happened. At first they can't believe it's him. Then when he affirms it is, how'd you get your sight back, Jesus? He told them what Jesus had done, what Jesus had said, what Jesus had commanded, and how he was healed. Well, they said, well, we need to talk to this Jesus. Where is he? I don't know. But it's not just the crowd who are responding to the healing. This comes to the attention of the Pharisees, those in opposition to Jesus. Verse 13. So they brought to the Pharisees the man who had been blind. Let's go to the leadership, see what they have to say. They brought him to the Pharisees. Now the day on which Jesus made the mud and opened the man's eyes was the Sabbath. Therefore, the Pharisees asked him how he received his sight. He put mud on my eyes. I washed. Now I see. And the Pharisees said, this man is not from God. He does not keep the Sabbath. What an interesting and strange response. This stupendous miracle, which they can't deny. How did he do it? Well, he made some mud, put it on my eyes, sent me to wash. That's work. Making mud, that's work. Healing, that's work. He worked on the Sabbath. He must not be from God. Now, we've seen this response from the Pharisees before. You remember when the paralytic was healed at the pool of Bethesda. Jesus said, arise and walk. He healed him on the Sabbath day. And the Pharisees got really upset. How dare you heal a man on the Sabbath and tell him to walk on the Sabbath? That's work. And now he does it again. An even more stupendous miracle, greater work. How interesting. They don't care at all that a man who lived in darkness has come into the light. They don't care at all that a blind man can now see. They're only concerned with their rules, that he did some work on the Sabbath. He healed on the Sabbath. And so immediately they say, he is not from God. For no one from God would heal on the Sabbath. If he was from God, they think, he would rather a man stay in blindness than be healed on the Sabbath. What a strange notion of who God is. But we see the opposition. So now the tension is set. Earlier in the book, we've seen the Pharisees already decided they need to do away with Jesus. They're working really to kill him. And now they really feel that way. If he's going to do stuff like this, heal people of blindness, man, we can't have that, not if he does it on the Sabbath. So the opposition is growing. And so they begin by saying, this Jesus is certainly not from God, because he healed on the Sabbath. Now, in tomorrow's session, we're going to go further as the conversation between the Pharisees and this healed man continues. They can't deny the miracle, but they're trying to find some way to accuse Jesus of wrongdoing. And so we can look at that conversation tomorrow and see how it goes forward and how Jesus finally will respond to himself at the end of the chapter. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John.